As Rodrigo Duterte ascended to the presidency of the Philippines, his tenure stirred vigorous debate. Critics pointed not only to his perceived failures as a leader, but most notably, to his seemingly ineffective approach towards China. Duterte was instrumental in inaugurating what many called a golden era of Philippine-Chinese relations, yet this golden era was not without its share of controversies. Some argue that Duterte's policies led the Philippines into unnecessary financial indebtedness with China. Others maintain that his administration inadequately addressed the South China Sea dispute. While it's apparent that Duterte's foreign policy may have leaned more favorably towards China, the blame isn't one-sided. China's non-compliance with international laws has garnered criticism, putting them in an unfavorable position. Interestingly, China's failure to maintain a harmonious relationship with the Philippines has manifested for several critical reasons. In recent months, particularly following the rise of Bongbong Marcos to the presidency, the Philippines has initiated and been courted by other nations to take a stance against China. As we will examine throughout this video, it appears that the scales have tipped. The predicament no longer ties predominantly with the Philippines, but rather seems to be shifting towards China. Let's begin by exploring the transformative presidency of Rodrigo Duterte, a period marked by a significant geopolitical shift towards China. Duterte's independent foreign policy saw the Philippines distancing itself from traditional allies like the United States and fostering deeper ties with China. This marked a profound shift in the country's international diplomacy narrative. To comprehend this era's influence on the Philippine-Chinese relationship, we must understand the catalysts behind Duterte's turn to China. This divergence from traditional Western alliances, mainly with the US, was a dramatic departure that resonated deeply within the Philippines and the broader world stage. Eager to capitalize on China's ascendant global stature and robust economy, Duterte hoped that a closer alliance would trigger an influx of Chinese investment, aid, and tourism, thereby stimulating the Philippines' economic growth. Infrastructure projects, many as part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, promised to revolutionize the country's development sector with the additional allure of increased access to the expansive Chinese market for Filipino products. Additionally, Duterte believed that a closer alliance with China could diffuse the contentious South China Sea territorial disputes, aiming to find a peaceful, mutually beneficial resolution to these long-standing issues. However, these lofty ambitions encountered a complex reality. While Chinese investment did see an uptick, it fell short of expectations. The much-vaunted infrastructure projects were sluggish to take off, some ensnared in controversy. Moreover, the maritime disputes remained a persistent issue, with instances of escalated tensions despite Duterte's diplomatic maneuverings. The shift towards China also stirred domestic controversy. Some viewed it as a practical adjustment in response to evolving global power dynamics, while others feared over-reliance on China and potential compromises to the nation's sovereignty, especially regarding the South China Sea. Regionally, this pivot raised eyebrows among Southeast Asian nations, apprehensive of the possible effects on the regional power balance. Traditional allies, such as the US, had to confront the unsettling reality of their waning influence over a long-time partner. By the close of Duterte's term, the verdict on the pivot to China was mixed at best. The perceived gains were counterbalanced by persistent challenges and unresolved issues. The Philippines' relationship with China had undoubtedly been transformed, but whether for better or worse was subjective. As Duterte's term concluded, it paved the way for a new chapter in the Philippines' foreign policy under President Bongbong Marcos. The intricacies of this legacy are what Marcos inherited. As our discussion continues, we'll examine how Marcos is steering his course through this complex landscape, suggesting a possible recalibration in the Philippines' relations with China. Now, fast forward to the present, where we find ourselves in the Marcos era. President Bongbong Marcos had been subtly but surely signaling a possible recalibration of the Philippines' foreign policy. Through his actions and statements, he has indicated that the Philippines may be on the cusp of charting a new path in its relations with China. One such indication came in the form of potential security concerns involving the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, or NGCP. Marcos expressed that a good reason, such as national security, could justify a withdrawal of NGCP's franchise, which is significantly Chinese-owned. This move hints at a potential realignment of policies and priorities. For a quick bit of context, the NGCP is in charge of operating, maintaining, and developing the country's state-owned power grid. It is a privately owned corporation in which the State Grid Corporation of China holds a significant 40% stake. Another major factor influencing the Philippines' relations with China are the maritime disputes in the South China Sea. Tensions flared following the near collision of Chinese and Filipino vessels, a matter which Marcos reportedly discussed with Chinese officials. This incident underscores the delicate and sometimes volatile nature of Philippines-China relations. Amidst an intricate geopolitical landscape, Philippines President Marcos has shown proactive diplomacy, seeking to revitalize the country's connections with long-standing allies such as the United States and Australia. This move adds a new facet to the country's foreign policy with the potential to balance China's regional influence. In exploring the Philippines' rejuvenated alliances, it's crucial to understand the context and potential ramifications. President Marcos's diplomatic engagements with U.S. President Joe Biden and Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong are timely, marking a strategic pivot in the country's international relations. In addition, we must not forget that Japan and the ASEAN Union has also been expanding collective talks in order to restrain China's aggression in the South China Sea. Throughout history, the United States and the Philippines have cultivated a strong alliance in various sectors, including defense, economics, and diplomacy. This enduring relationship experienced a period of stagnation during Duterte's tenure, yet recent engagements between Presidents Biden and Marcos suggest a potential resurgence. If fostered, this revitalized partnership could bring advancements in fields such as military assistance and economic collaborations. In the context of defense, there's a growing strategic focus exemplified by the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. This accord, designed to foster regional peace and security, has facilitated the return of U.S. military forces to the Philippines. Indeed, in recent months, we've observed a rise in their presence. More significantly, a fortified relationship with the Philippines could provide the Philippines with a strategic advantage against China's expanding influence in the region. An enhanced U.S.-Philippines alliance could potentially act as a counterweight to China's ascendant power, ensuring a balance of power in the region. The interaction with Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong is another noteworthy advancement. Australia, a pivotal entity in the Asia-Pacific arena, and the Philippines share mutual interests spanning trade, regional security, and international law. Bolstering ties with Australia could promote regional stability and prosperity, and form a united front to address common challenges. Finally, the Philippines appears to be strategically positioning itself amidst rising regional tensions by strengthening alliances, particularly with Japan and the ASEAN bloc. This move seems to be a concerted effort to counter China's increasing assertiveness. Both bilateral and multilateral security ties have been emphasized, with a prevailing narrative focused on maintaining freedom and safety in the South China Sea. Thus, the Philippines' multi-pronged approach to alliances represents an intricate chess game in the realm of geopolitics, geared towards ensuring stability in this contentious maritime region. However, this reorientation towards traditional allies is not without its complications. The geopolitical interests of the US and Australia necessitate careful diplomatic maneuvering to safeguard and advance the Philippines' interests. A delicate balance must be struck. While this could yield substantial benefits for the Philippines, a misstep could also lead to undesired outcomes. Moreover, China's reaction to this shift is a critical consideration. This strategic realignment may provoke tension with China, possibly affecting economic collaborations, joint ventures, and the sensitive issue of maritime disputes. Equally vital is the reaction of the Filipino populace to these diplomatic shifts. Public sentiment can considerably shape foreign policy trajectories, as diplomacy caters to both domestic and international audiences. The question of whether the public will favor a shift from China towards more traditional allies, or if this move will incite controversy and opposition, remains unanswered. Ultimately, the path the Philippines chooses will require delicate navigation, balancing regional and international interests with domestic sentiment. So what does all this mean for the Philippines? Well, it's a bit early to say definitively, but these developments could herald a new phase in the country's geopolitical stance. A potential shift away from China does not necessarily mean a complete severing of ties. Instead, it could signify a more balanced approach to international relations, one that considers a diverse range of partnerships rather than leaning heavily on one side. To sum it all up, it's a fascinating time in the world of geopolitical relations, with the Philippines poised potentially to redefine its stance. The dance between nations continues, with every step and misstep carrying implications for not just the countries involved, but for the broader region and indeed the world. But anyway, do let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.